How's it going, guys? Daniel here, and today I'm gonna compare the OnePlus Nord against the Pixel 5. I would say that both phones are really great Android phones, but in the States, it's kind of hard for me to spot out a person that owns a OnePlus because I feel like owning a OnePlus or knowing about OnePlus, they're pretty specific. Now for hardware, I do like the look and feel on the Pixel 5. It's very clean and minimal. I'm a matte finish guy, so I love how I don't collect a lot of fingerprints on the back of that phone, and just versus how the OnePlus is and how glossy it is, it gets very slippery after or over time with all the grease and oils. I will say though, the OnePlus does stick out a bit more because of the shiny color and how glossy it is, so people can actually see it right from the corner of their eyes. Now for the physical size, obviously the OnePlus is the bigger phone and I have smaller hands. So naturally the Pixel 5 is going to be more comfortable for me to hold. But if you do want the bigger screen or just have bigger hands, then of course the Nord is going to be the better one. For the button placement, I do like the Pixel better because everything is on one side, very simple to use. The OnePlus do have this quick switch, which I don't really need. It does come in handy, or it's really easy to access, but once I change it, I don't really need to touch it again. Now for performance, they're both running on the same chip, so they're pretty much the same thing. And doing everyday tasks like scrolling through Instagram, watching videos on YouTube, they work flawlessly fine. You can play games, but I want to let you know that it's smooth, but you're not going to play it on the highest setting. Now they both have 90Hz screens, but the Pixel only shows in some cases, whereas on the OnePlus, you can always have it on. For me, in my perspective, I don't really care for 90Hz screens since I don't really see it, or I don't see a big difference. Of course, it's different when you're a gamer, but I would just have it off just to have more battery life. Speaking of battery life, the OnePlus does have the bigger battery, but not by much. On both phones, I can roughly get about a day and a half, or I can even push it to 2 days since I'm a casual user. But when you start gaming, obviously the battery's gonna die really quickly, so make sure you do have an external charger with you.
Quick little battery test I did last night. I had this fully charged at 100%, and it's 11 right now. It's still 100%. And this one stopped charging at 80%, but now it's at 75. So this one lost 5% overnight. Pixel did not lose any percentage overnight, and I've been getting messages throughout the night as well. So I know that will drain some battery life. Apparently not for the Pixel, but for the OnePlus. Okay, battery update. Just shot A-roll and some pictures of this using both the phones. Right now Pixel 5 is at 91%. And grabbing the OnePlus, it is 64%. If you're always on the go and if you need the phone to charge up quickly, then the OnePlus is better because it can charge up to 30 watts wired versus the 18 on the Pixel 5. Now for software, both are very clean UIs. I would say that the OnePlus is a bit cleaner and easier on the eyes, but either way, both are super easy to use. Can't go wrong with either or, but I think the OnePlus offers a bit more flexibility in terms of options. In the Android world, I would say these two are by far my top favorite ones to use. And I would say for me, I would naturally go for Pixel because I use Google everything, therefore I have less bloatware. There's a lot of OnePlus stuff that I don't use that's just taking up space. So moving on to cameras, we're gonna go over portrait mode first, and I gotta say the experience is better or easier on the Pixel 5. And it's because when you shoot in portrait, all you have to do is just tap the shutter button and it looks good. It'll do all the work for you. Whereas on the OnePlus Nord, you would have to move around until you see the effect happening on your screen, and then you can take the picture. So if it's a very complicated shape or object, or if it's just too close and tells you to back off, then you're gonna be frustrated and you just don't want to take the picture at that point. And also the background blur on the Pixel 5 just seems more blurrier and creamier than the OnePlus Nord. Now when you're taking selfies on portrait mode, my skin tones looks way more better on a Pixel 5 than the Nord. The Nord makes me look very flat and washed out. But everything else on both phones look pretty good in terms of the colors. Now for nighttime when you're taking selfies, I gotta say, the game changer here is the night mode on Pixel 5. Without the night mode on the Pixel 5, the picture tends to look a bit too noisy or just not as clean. Now if you're in really good lighting, it doesn't really matter, but it really helps when you're in dark spaces. For night mode itself, it works well on both phones, but I would say it's a bit sloppier on the OnePlus Nord. I feel like I would really have to stay still for it to be super tack sharp. If I start to move a little bit while it's doing its processing and stuff, that's when it gets a little bit blurry. And since night mode is pretty situational, a normal person will not use it that often, but since it's wintertime or it's going to be colder, your hands are going to be shaking a lot more. Now for the cameras, they both have an ultra wide angle lens and a regular lens, but the Nord just have two more lenses, which is a macro and a depth one. I think that's not that useful during everyday situations, but during daytime, they both look pretty good. Now the biggest difference here is when you're zooming in max all the way. The Nord can go up to 10x and the Pixel can go up to 7x, but either way, the Nord doesn't look as sharp as the Pixel because of the Google processing and stuff. Really helps out. Another thing I noticed on the OnePlus Nord is the camera UI is kind of not as responsive as the Pixel, even though they're both using the same chip. So when I'm taking these pictures in ultra wide, once I take it, I want to go into normal mode and then the telephoto mode. So when I'm trying to switch through them, the Pixel is just way more responsive and going into those different modes much quicker. For nighttime, the first thing I notice on the ultra wide angle lens is the Pixel 5 is just much better. The software processing helps it out a lot, especially sharpening up the image and just bringing up dark shadows. So on the OnePlus Nord, for me, I would say stick with the main camera lens because that would just give you the best results. And if you are planning to zoom into your pictures, the Pixel does have that processing that helps out. So for me, I guess the all-around better camera is just the Pixel. Moving on to video, they both can use the ultra-wide angle lens to shoot, and for me the biggest difference here is the color temperature. It seems like the Pixel is more on the bluish side, whereas on the OnePlus it looks more natural. And the stabilization looks pretty identical on both phones. Now moving on to the main camera lens, it seems like the white balancing issue switched here. On the OnePlus Nord, the shadows look really blue, but on the Pixel, everything looks more on the greenish side. The Pixel 5 can shoot up to 4K 60, which the OnePlus Nord cannot, but it does have a 4K 30 cinema mode, which basically makes the aspect ratio skinnier to like a 16:10. But to be honest, I don't know how many people would actually use that mode compared to the 4K 60. And shooting video in nighttime, I would say they're both not that great. They have a lot of micro jitters, the video is not that clear. I would say that the Pixel does represent the colors much more accurate to the eye because in terms of the really yellow tungsten streetlights, that's how it actually looks, not like the really washed out one on the OnePlus Nord.
In the end, both are really great phones and very easy to use. I think if you consume a lot of media content, then it's more beneficial for you to go for the OnePlus Nord because of the bigger screen, but if you really care about your pictures, just go for the Pixel. So those are my thoughts using these two phones. Let me know what you guys think. Remember to like, subscribe, and you can find me on Instagram as well. I do have the links down below if you want to check them out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.